Hey guys, it is Sarah. Here's my service dog Bailey, who decided that she just really wants to be on camera today. Normally she's like trying to nap in the corner, but right now she really wants to be in between me and the camera. Sarah, you know, hi. Good girl. Video is a recent medical procedure that I had called a lithotripsy. And before I get into what that procedure is, I do want to talk a little bit about the symptoms that I had that led up to this. So a couple months ago-ish, I went to my undergrad institution for a weekend to spend some time with friends, and I had a wonderful time. It was super fun. And during that trip, I played in an intramural ultimate frisbee championship tournament. I wanted to do this. It was tons of fun, but I knew it was pushing my body further than I should have. I knew I was not in athletic shape, but I wanted to do it and it was fun. So I did it. And boy, did I pay for it. By the time the games were done, I was in so much pain that I had a hard time walking home from the intramural game fields. And the pain was pretty distinct. It was mostly, it's hard to describe pain, but I felt like it was achy and kind of sharp through my lower back. And I identified this as kidney pain. When I got home, I, hydrated as much as I could and rested. And within a few days, the pain was gone. And I was like, wow, I made it. That wasn't so bad. And it got worse. So 2 weeks after that, I was in the middle of 2 major group projects and another major assignment in my classes. And all of a sudden I start to notice that, and this might be TMI for some people, but my pee was a little pink. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I need to schedule an appointment with the doctor, see if something's up. I didn't have any other symptoms. And then by the next day, after I noticed that originally, my pee was completely red and I was in a ton of kidney pain. And I was able to not completely freak out at this because I had previously had kidney stones. So I knew how to identify kidney pain, and having pee that was completely red was not, a new experience for me, unfortunately. So the last time I had kidney stones, which was about 2.5 years previously, they were so small that there was nothing the doctor could do for me. They didn't want to prescribe me any pain meds or anything for the nausea, and they were just like, well, they'll make their way out eventually, good luck. And that kind of sucked. So I went to the doctor kind of assuming that it would be the same deal. They would do some sort of scan, see how big they are, say, well, they're kind of small, but they'll pass on their own. So I went to the doctor's office, and the closest and most easily accessible doctor to me where I am now in grad school is my student health. So I went to student health, and the first thing that I wanted to do was make sure that it wasn't an infection, because if it was an infection that had gone unsymptomatic until this point, that would be kind of worrisome. Thankfully it wasn't, but they said that it was kind of beyond their scope to figure out this kidney stone business. So they referred me to a urologist. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to go see this other doctor, and they're going to tell me nothing's wrong. It's just these tiny little stones, and you're a big baby, and it's going to pass. And that's kind of what I went into this thinking. I felt like I had a good idea of what was going on, and that there was nothing that could be done. But the student health thankfully prescribed me anti-nausea meds, and I was really resistant to getting any sort of prescription pain meds, just because I know how addictive they can be. So I didn't get any of those, but I got some nausea meds because some of the main symptoms of kidney stones are pain and nausea, besides, all the weird pee. So I went to the urologist, which was an interesting experience that I may have to do a separate video on, because there were multiple staff members who were afraid of dogs. And a lot of them were people who, you know, maybe there was only one person in the office, because it was a small clinic, who knew how to do that one thing. So there was one lab tech, there was one phlebotomist, there was one, you know, person who did X. So that was interesting, but we figured it out. I ended up getting an X-ray, a CT scan, and some blood work done all in one day. What I thought was going to be maybe an hour-long appointment ended up being like 4 or 5 hours. And a lot of that was just waiting for results, waiting for insurance to call them back to say they could do another test on me, things like that. So after all the tests, the urologist explained that I had multiple kidney stones, a few in my left kidney that weren't that big, and that would probably pass on their own, and then 2 in my right kidney that were 7 millimeters large. The last kidney stones that I had one that was 3 millimeters and the rest were 2 millimeters or 1 millimeter. So they were pretty small. So 7 millimeters is more than twice the size of my previous kidney stones. And I was kind of intimidated by that. They said that one of them was free floating, that was the one that was causing problems, and the other one was stuck to the wall of my kidney, and that we didn't really need to worry about that because sometimes people stick, like their kidney stones just stick to the wall and don't cause problems for years. So we really needed to take care of that floating one though, because it wouldn't pass on its own. It's just too big, but they said it wasn't big enough for them to need a stent or an invasive surgical procedure. Thus, they told me I should get a lithotripsy, which is a non-invasive procedure to break up kidney stones. It uses like shock waves. I don't know if this is my little sign for shock waves, but it uses shock waves to break the kidney stone into smaller pieces that will pass more easily. And I was like, great, we have a solution. This is wonderful. And then they got down to all of the prep stuff that I needed to do. So for this lithotripsy at this location, they prescribed me pain meds because they were anticipating that I would be in quite a bit of pain leading up to the procedure because of the size of the stone, and after the procedure. They also gave me a list of instructions of things to do and told me that I needed to find someone to drive me to and from the procedure. So I was really intimidated by having to find someone to drive me to and from the procedure because I'm new to this town, I'm new to this program. The friends that I've had, I've only really had since August, which is not long enough for me to get super close to someone, and they didn't really know about my medical issues. The extent of which they knew about my medical issues was that I have Bailey. So this would be kind of pushing me to get to the next level in some friendships that I wasn't sure, you know, all of us were ready for. And I also don't like asking for help, which is a personal problem. But I ended up finding a good friend who is in some group projects with me that I trusted, and she said she would gladly drive me to and from my procedure, which is great. And that just left all the rest of the prep work. The rest of the prep work for this procedure required me to buy a bunch of stuff. So the day before the procedure, they requested that I take a, I think it's called Gas X. It basically reduces the amount of gas in your digestive system for every 6 hours the day before the procedure. And then because my procedure was going to be in the afternoon, I should take one the morning of the procedure. They also said that the night before the procedure, after dinner, I needed to take a laxative. And I had to do an enema the day of the procedure. And none of this were things I had ever had to take before, thankfully. And it sucked. I never, ever, ever, ever want to have to use a laxative or an enema ever again. It was really uncomfortable and a little weird. And if you don't know what an enema is, I will try to insert a picture of the instructions from my enema box because I thought they were hilarious because I am a child.